Good evening, everyone. It's still colder outside than, cold. It's been cold this winter in January and February, early February. Heck, it's misting outside right now. It's about 33 degrees. I imagine a couple more hours it'll be below freezing again. We'll just get nice. Already the limbs on the trees are already freezing. There's already a coating ice on those, so I imagine it'll just creep down into the roadway as well. So no getting out doing reviews on nights and days like these. So do it from inside the house here and inside my room. And I'm going to do for you guys the small batch version of Knob Creek. I've never actually done the small batch version of Knob Creek before. In fact, I still got the Baker's 107 to do, and I need to get to that, but I need to drink some more of it. I've just got it opened, and I have not taken too much off of it. I just bought a bottle not too long ago. I finally opened it just not too long ago. Anyway, I digress. This is 9 years. That probably made a bad sound. This is 9 years, a typical small batch, 9 years, 100 proof for the Knob Creek. It's part of their small batch collection for Jim Beam, which contains Booker's, Basil Hayden, Baker's, and of course this Knob Creek. There are single barrels and single barrel store picks, and the single barrel store picks really are some of the best bourbons I've ever had myself. Some, not all. I've had some. I mean, they're all good, but some are just exceed others exponentially. Anyway, I poured this a little bit ago so I could let it set a little bit because it helps to open up a little bit. And that comes from knowledge of when I originally bought a 375 of this years ago, and I bought a 375 of Buffalo Trace. I bought it the same night, came home, compared them. I liked the Buffalo Trace initially better off the few neck pours. I revisited it 2-3 weeks later, and the Knob Creek is just much better than the Buffalo Trace. After they've set and they've oxidized just a little bit. I almost used that term oxygenated again. You would think I would know the dang. Why I would want to use that term escapes me with my background. Still a little hick dwelling in there somewhere. Anyway, they oxidized a little bit, and that proof on this just carried it. And the Knob Creek changes, and you'll notice I've waited to do this. This is my second bottle of this, plus the 375 I had previously a few years ago. So we're working on my third bottle, and I know to give you guys a good review, I need to get this thing down at least about a third gone before I do the review, because that's where it's really starting to get at its best potential. Anyway, and this carries the oldest age statement. Most of the Bookers are 6-7 years old. I don't think they get much older than that I've ever seen, but I haven't seen them all, so I don't know exactly. The Baker's is a 7-year-old. It's 107 proof. You're talking 9 years old and 100 proof with this. They're both small batches. I'm going to guess they come from different parts of the warehouse. Your Basil Hayden carries a different mash bill than the others, and it's only 40% ABV. That's the major differences in all the four that we see, other than special barrel picks and so on and so forth, which that changes the dynamics. Basil Hayden's now has a 10-year out that might be interesting if it's over 40%, but I don't know if I would be interested. I might be, but the price I seen on the bottle, that only bottle I've seen, it didn't make sense to me. Anyway, I can't think of much else to include in what I just said, so we can get down into the review of all this. And I personally think it's a great product. It's, of course, chestnut brown, slightly red tinge to it, not much of one. It's thick, oily. I don't even know if you guys will be able to see it, but legs run medium slow. They're thin, a little on the thinner side for the most part. Then it starts all coming down real slow, sheet style. It come from here to here, almost sheet style. Then the lower legs started running, and now the upper legs off of that starting to run. So it's a fairly oily bourbon. Again, it's a small batch. Now, vanilla and brown sugar right off the get-go. Not cinnamon and nutmeg. I really notice a little herbal note to it. And I want to put something out there because I ate some. Oh, me and the wife stopped back at Dexter and picked some up. Shoot, I'm guessing back in. We went to one of the football games in September, I think it was. It's called horehound candy. My dad used to get it. It's a plant. I'm not sure what it belongs to, but it's a plant, and it's a horehound plant, and they take it and turn it into candy, and it gets a lot of, mostly it's like cough drops. It's a little bittersweet sort of cough drop you get off of it, and they use it in a lot of the cough drops. That's what I know it for. But they also make a candy out of it, and it's an acquired taste. But I get a little bit of that on the nose. Get the oak. And if I take my nose and I go across the upper rim of the glass just so gently, I get a background of banana. No citrus. No berries. No cherries. That's about what I get on the nose. Actually, the longer it sits in the glass, the more the banana comes in. Now, the other day I did mellow corn, and on that one, I got banana taffy. This is not banana taffy. This is more of just a good, ripe banana. It's going for the palate. It's a little bit warm. Again, with this one, brown sugar. Brown sugar, vanilla. Brown sugar, vanilla. Again, with that almost minty horehound candy effect is there. I think that's coming from the rye. The banana I get on the nose is we're starting into the finish. Once you start into the finish, it starts to show up more as you get into the finish. We're nowhere near done. I'm going to have to take another sip, eat some more out of this. That's still good. Now your oak is setting in. The oak is coming through now, and more of that cough syrup, lozenge, that horehound effect, I call it, because that's more what it is. It's not necessarily, it's more herbal in nature. It's not so much minty or citrusy. There's just a little bit of mint on the initial intake on the palate, but on the finish, it's more that herbal. It finishes with a herbal note to it. But the oak sits there. And this one, the oak is the platform. It's not bitter. It's not sour. That oak is the platform. You can taste the oak. Think of a bourbon flavored toothpick. And that's your platform. And upon that, we build our layers of brown sugar, layers of vanilla, layers of that herbalness and that horehound candy. And then that brings up the start of the finish. We get into the banana, but the banana doesn't last through. It kind of just sits and it fades. And then we go back into that oak, into that, it's like cough lozenge horehound effect. This one's good. I like Knob Creek. Again, I probably said it before. I know I have. Knob Creek single barrels, or a couple of the Knob Creek single barrels I've got, are two of the best bourbons I believe I've ever had. If not, they ran neck and neck with them. I mean, they're right up with Elijah Craig. I mean, one day it would depend on the day, and my palate for the day can change. Everybody's does. And you might prefer a different thing on a different day. And that can vary with what you eat, your mood, so on and so forth. And there are days where I would prefer a couple of those Knob Creeks to my Elijah Craigs. There are days that I will prefer those Elijah Craig barrel proofs to those Knob Creeks. But this is not about those. And I know I'm sorry I've digressed into that. This is about the small batch. This is good. I'm going to give it a score 88 out of 100. It's very delicious. It is mouth-watering, but as time goes by, that oak begins that drying process, and now I'm at the end of most of my finish with all my talking. It's still there, but it's finishing very, very well. But now I'm ready for a drink because now I'm starting to dry out just a little. Alcohol will naturally dry you out. Your best bet is to let it sit for a little while and then get into it. You're going to get a little of that Jim Beam funk. And that little Jim Beam funk, some of that comes into what I've referred to as the herbal aspect of it. And that's the yeast playing into it. It gives it kind of a little slight twist. Not all Jim Beams finish like that. I notice it more on this than I do the other Knob Creeks I have. But it's just the nature of it. You either like it or you don't like it. And that's a decision you have to make. 88 out of 100, $30 a bottle, roughly, give or take a couple of dollars, depending on where you're at in the country. And get on sale probably maybe even cheaper. Versus roughly $40 a bottle for the single barrels. And usually the single barrel store picks run, in this area anyway, around $44 a bottle. Hard to beat for that price. You're getting a really good bourbon for that price. I don't know what else to say. I've covered everything I need to cover on this. So I'll leave you with this. Remember, the spirit in your glass ain't running from you. Take your time, sip, and enjoy it. You'll be better for it, as will we all. Everyone have a good evening.